evening and a warm welcome to all of you here on the news tonight. I'm Tracy Shilshi and this is the show that gets you the day's top stories from India and across the world. And today we're taking a closer look at the newsmaker of the day as well, Rahul Gandhi. But first, the headlines. The land bill tabled in the Lok Sabha amid loud protests as the House resumes the budget session after a month-long recess. Congress wants land bill sent to Parliamentary Standing Committee. Rahul Gandhi says Achhe Din government has failed the country. The Supreme Court upholds the National Green Tribunal's order banning diesel vehicles more than 10 years old in the capital. Plea against NGT order dismissed. Navy's new stealth destroyer to be commissioned, INS Visakhapatnam, is launched. The indigenously designed warship will carry state-of-the-art weaponry, boosting the Navy's firepower capabilities. And China's President Xi Jinping starts his Pakistan visit. A mammoth $46 billion Chinese investment in energy and infrastructure is on the cards. Our top story, Lok Sabha resumed the second session of the budget session today and the opposition benches were up as one when the government tabled the land acquisition ordinance. The main opposition party, the Congress, led others in walking out of the House. The Congress has demanded that the bill be referred to a parliamentary standing committee. The new ordinance comes with as many as 9 changes and is yet to be tabled in Rajya Sabha.
Soon after question hour in Lok Sabha, Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Rajiv Pratap Rudy tabled a copy of the repromulgated ordinance on land acquisition. With that, the opposition MPs, including those of the Congress, Samajwadi Party, JDU, RJD, TMC and CPIM, started shouting slogans. Amidst this uproar, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj gave a statement on the evacuation operation in Yemen. When the uproar did not die down, the Speaker adjourned the House.
To meet again at 2 o'clock.
When the House reassembled at 2 p.m., Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge accused the government of using the back channel to get the bill passed.
जब राज्यसभा में चले गया तो वहां के सदस्य इसको पास नहीं होने दिया, वो बिल गिर गया। जब वो बिल गिर जाता है तो उसके बाद में फिर आपने जो सदन को यहाँ पर जो बुलाए थे 20 तारीख को राज्यसभा और लोकसभा, उसमें से राज्यसभा को आपने प्रभाव करके उसको 23 को आप उसको एक्सटेंड किया और 20 को हमको बुलाया ताकि ये जो ऑर्डिनेंस है जनता के मंशा के खिलाफ और किसान के विरोध में उसको लाने की कोशिश करें और आप बैकडोर से आना चाहते हैं और बैकडोर से इस कानून को पास करना चाहते हैं।
TMC Sudeep Bandyopadhyay also voiced his party's opposition to the bill.
Land Acquisition and Rehabilitation Resettlement Bill 2011 was debated on the floor of the House on 29th August 2013. Trinamool Congress opposed it. Our leader Mamata Banerjee led a rally opposing this ordinance, which has been introduced. We totally oppose and walk out against this. Ordinance.
The government termed the opposition to the bill unfortunate. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister clarified that a discussion on the bill was not listed for today.
दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण बात है, कांग्रेस पार्टी बिना कारण, बिना रीजन, बिना नोटिस, बिना कोई पद्धति मर्यादा पालन नहीं करते हुए सदन में वेल में आके हंगामा करना। लैंड एक्विजिशन बिल लोकसभा से 3/4 बहुमत से पारित हो चुका है और दोबारा जब ऑर्डिनेंस जारी किया तो हमको सदन में उसको रखना है, इसलिए रख दिया। जब चर्चा में आएगा तब उनका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू क्या है, नया तथ्य क्या सामने आया, उनको नया कारण क्या है इसको विरोध करने के लिए वो बता सकते, विरोध भी कर सकते।
Thank you very much, sir.
With a full majority in Lok Sabha, the government will not have any problems in getting bills passed. Despite this, the opposition is unlikely to let go of any opportunity to raise its voice on the issue of land acquisition. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And participating in the debate on the agrarian crisis that has gripped the country, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi accused the government of being anti-farmer. He said the government was working just for corporates. Rahul also raised questions about the government's figures on the losses incurred due to unseasonal rain and hailstorm. In reply, the government said that it had done much more than previous governments to help affected farmers.
प्रधानमंत्री जी को सुझाव दे रहा हूं
Intervening in the debate on the agrarian crisis held under Rule 193, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi launched a direct attack on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He said the Prime Minister should have taken stock of the situation himself. He also accused the Modi government of raising the MSP of grains by just the bare minimum.
एक्सपर्ट्स कहते हैं कि 180 देश के प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं नहीं बोलने दीजिए देश के प्रधानमंत्री कहते हैं नहीं जो एक्सपर्ट्स कह रहे हैं वो गलत है मैं जानता हूं 106 लाख हेक्टेयर पर असर हुआ उसके बाद आपकी एग्रीकल्चरल मिनिस्ट्री कहती है नहीं भैया प्रधानमंत्री जी गलत कह रहे हैं 80 लाख हेक्टेयर इफेक्टेड है तो सबसे पहले आप हमें बताइए एक्सपर्ट सही कह रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री सही कह रहे हैं या आपकी एग्रीकल्चरल मिनिस्ट्री सही कह रही है
In his speech, Rahul Gandhi also called the Modi government anti-farmer and pro-corporate. He said corporates were eyeing the land of farmers who were already suffering and the government was just handing over farmers' land to corporates through the land acquisition bill.
जमीन की जो कीमत है वो तेजी से बढ़ रही है और आपके जो कॉर्पोरेट दोस्त हैं वो उस जमीन को चाहते हैं और आप क्या कर रहे हो एक तरफ से सुनिए आप क्या कर रहे हो एक तरफ से किसान को मजदूर को आप कमजोर कर रहे हो और उसके बाद जब वो कमजोर होगा जब वो खड़ा नहीं होगा अपने पैरों पे फिर आप उसको अपने ऑर्डिनेंस की कुल्हाड़ी मारोगे
Replying for the government, Agriculture Minister Radha Mohan Singh said all figures of losses have been given by the state governments. He also said that the government has raised the compensation given to farmers.
जानकारी मिलने में एजेंसी ठीक नहीं रही होगी ये 180 लाख हेक्टेयर का नुकसान राज्य सरकारों ने बताया था फिर राज्य सरकारों ने 106 लाख हेक्टेयर का बताया था लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जब वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग पर बात की तो राज्य सरकारों ने 80 लाख हेक्टेयर बताया था कृपया इसको सुधार कर दें
Rahul Gandhi was in full flow as he spoke on the issue. Not only was he at his articulate best, he also didn't miss out on any opportunity to take on the government. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, let's talk more about Rahul Gandhi's speech and, of course, what lies ahead for the government as far as the land bill is concerned. We've got in studio with us Nitin Sethi, who's the associate editor with the Business Standard, joining us this evening. Nitin, one thing that the government has given the Congress is a rejuvenated look. We saw that with, Sonia Gandhi, and now we are seeing that with Rahul Gandhi.
I think it's amazing. The Congress, which was till a few months back just lagging behind, didn't have any leadership so to show, didn't have an issue to pick up. They've suddenly found an issue around which even a reluctant prince, so to say, of the party has found that he is becoming a leader yet again.
Yes.
And the kind of emergence you've seen of Rahul Gandhi since his return, it's ominous for BJP in some sense.
All right. But give us a sense really about his speech today. Like we were talking just a short while back, it was really high on rhetoric, but did it also lack a bit of substance?
I think very logically so. These debates, because they're going to be propounded out, they're going to go out of the parliament, they're not just meant for content and experts. I think there was a clear intent to make it more of a political rhetoric rather than have substance in it. And I think it did strike the BJP off balance a bit.
Yes.
It's easy to debate, quibble about content in the law, but if you are making straight accusations saying, oh, you're more favored towards favoring more corporate lobbies rather than the farmers, it's very difficult to take on this rhetoric in terms of small quibbling content. So in that sense, I think he's hit the right note today.
All right, Rajya Sabha session, of course, to start, the new session to start on the 23rd. that's when we'll actually see the actual work on land bill to begin. But what does it look like for the government at this point of time, with the Congress trying to make sure that the opposition is strongly behind, this anti-farmer stance that they've taken?
I think the BJP government has its task cut out. It's not going to be easy from this point onwards, simply because they've locked themselves into a game where they can't chew this bone and they really can't chuck it out either. Now, to step back, if they were to step back and say we'll give some things over to what Congress is asking, you're going to lean back and give some political space to Congress early on in the first year of the government itself, which is not a good sign for any government in place. On the other hand, if they do push forth and do push aggressively, probably BJP will find its own leaders very difficult to convince to go out in the field and say, yes, we are in favor of taking over lands forcefully. It's not a point any politician likes to make in front of the people who's elected them.
All right. Very quickly, of course, today we heard, of course, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu, of course, saying that, this is not the only debate you're going to hear on the land bill. Bahut sare aur debate hone hai is what he said. And that is exactly what we are hoping to see in the next month or so. But, just give us a sense, really, if we are going to see another move like a Nitin Gadkari move to try and reach out to other parties, try and reach out and look for some kind of a paths where, these parties can work together.
I mean, if you see the last round when it happened, when they brought these 9 amendments, they were practically cosmetic amendments in some sense. They didn't change the nature of the debate or the nature of the law or the ordinance that the BJP has tried to bring. It's very difficult to see how much maneuvering space the BJP really has, unless it really wants to make a substantial deal on this and still not lose its space to Congress. Even if it wants to tie up with the allies, convince some of the opposition parties to walk out, it's not going to be easy here onwards for BJP, clearly.
All right, Nitin Sethi, thanks so much for joining us and giving us, your perspective as well on what you thought about Rahul's speech and what the road looks like ahead for the government as far as land bill is concerned. Thanks so much for joining us again in studio. Meanwhile, let's head on to some more news that we got this Monday. In fact, Supreme Court dismissed a plea challenging the National Green Tribunal's order prohibiting diesel vehicles older than 10 years from plying in Delhi. The ban is also on petrol vehicles that are older than 15 years. The court commended the NGT's efforts to ensure cleaner air in the national capital.
In an order that could improve Delhi's deteriorating air quality, the Supreme Court upheld the ban imposed by the National Green Tribunal on all diesel and petrol vehicles. The court dismissed an appeal against the ban and commended NGT's effort to keep Delhi's air clean. However, the petitioners raised the issue that despite use of CNG vehicles, pollution in Delhi has got worse.
आज हमने खासकर एक ऐसा मुद्दा उठाया सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने कि जो सीएनजी व्हीकल्स दिल्ली में शुरुआत किए गए और आज की डेट में 70% से ज्यादा जो वाहन है वो सीएनजी पे चलते हैं दिल्ली में, तो इन वाहनों के कारण भी आज तक कोई पोल्यूशन कम नहीं हुआ है. ये भी इन्वेस्टिगेट करना चाहिए. Our course will be decided thereafter when we will get the order in our hand. Then only we will decide.
However, the court turned down the argument, saying that the NGT only repeated the orders by the constitutional courts. The NGT had ordered that all 10-year-old diesel vehicles and 15-year-old petrol ones be taken off the road in the national capital region. The ban is likely to affect lakhs of private and commercial vehicles.
तो इतनी बेरोजगारी बढ़ जाएगी, इतनी मतलब आदमी इतने ज्यादा बेरोजगार हो जाएंगे और इतनी ज्यादा यहाँ पर कियोस्क पैदा हो जाएगा. उसको देखते हुए दोनों ने ये हमें आश्वासन दिया है. केंद्र सरकार के जो प्रमुख हैं इस समय परिवहन मंत्री श्री नितिन गडकरी जी और दिल्ली सरकार के जो प्रमुख हैं इस समय परिवहन मंत्री गोपाल राय जी, दोनों ने आश्वासन दिया है कि हम इसके अंदर आपका पक्ष पूर्ण रूप से रखेंगे और पूरी तैयारी के साथ वहां पर जाएंगे.
However, the NGT widened its ambit, issuing notices to states and union territories seeking status on prevention of air pollution with regard to vehicular traffic. Notices will also be issued to state governments, directing them to come up with ideas to counter air pollution in respective states. With inputs from Ravinder Shoran, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And with that, it's time for a quick break here. But up ahead, Aam Aadmi Party rebels give a stinging reply to the show cause notices, rejecting the charges.
Tradition dating back centuries. A cultural heritage that inspires and warms at once. magic that awes, Rajya Sabha Television brings you events that embrace the wonders of India's classical arts. Conversations with the biggest names in the culture and music. Rajya Sabha Television, democracy at work.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more national news now. And the Chief of Naval Staff, R.K. Dhawan, today launched India's latest destroyer warship, INS Visakhapatnam, at the Mazgaon dock in Mumbai. It will be inducted in the Indian Navy in July 2018. The new stealth destroyer is capable of operating amid nuclear, biological or chemical fallout.
The Indian Navy will soon have its largest destroyer warship in action after INS Visakhapatnam was launched at Mumbai's Mazgaon dock on Monday. Weighing over 7,000 tons, the stealth destroyer is the first of the 4 follow-up order of the Kolkata-class warships. 65% of the ship was built in India at an overall cost of close to 30,000 crore rupees.
The Mazgaon docks has emerged as one of the leading warship building yards in the country. And today it's a momentous occasion when we launched the first ship of 15 Bravo.
The ship will be equipped with the Israeli multifunction surveillance threat alert radar. This will provide targeting information to 32 Barak 8 long-range surface-to-air missiles on board the warship that is being co-developed by India with Israel. The ship will also be carrying 8 BrahMos missiles. Except the machinery compartment, the rest of the warship will have a total atmosphere control system. The system will enable the crew to operate the ship in regions of nuclear, chemical or biological fallout. The ship will be equipped with Zorya gas turbines from Ukraine.
This warship is a product of our own Indian naval design. The second aspect which would make every Indian proud is the fact that this ship is made of Indian steel, and this ship will finally have an indigenous content of about 65%.
The ship will be inducted by the Indian Navy in July 2018. It is during the induction and commissioning of the destroyer that it will be officially christened as the Indian naval ship Visakhapatnam. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has invited Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's family to Delhi to discuss further on the issue of declassification of files. 10 members of Netaji's family are likely to meet the Prime Minister on the 17th of May. Netaji's family wants all files concerning Subhash Chandra Bose to be declassified. Modi recently met the grandnephew of Netaji in Berlin and had assured him full support in the matter. The Right to Information Appeals had revealed that the Prime Minister's office holds 39 secret files relating to Netaji. Recent reports suggest his relatives were snooped on for around 20 years during Jawaharlal Nehru's tenure.
वो जो गवर्नमेंट का फाइल है जो 50 साल के भी पुराना है वो सब खोल देना चाहिए और ये डिसीजन हाईएस्ट पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप को लेना चाहिए क्योंकि कुछ नहीं होगा फॉरेन रिलेशंस कुछ खराब नहीं होगा इतना दिन का पुराना सब फाइल है वो जो ट्रूथ जो है वो सामने आ जाएगा सिलेक्टिव ओपनिंग से बहुत अननेसेसरी स्पेकुलेशन चल रहा है ये सब खोल देना चाहिए और हम लोग को थोड़ा डिग्निटी के साथ और कुछ मैच्योरिटी के साथ इस इशू को डील करना चाहिए
The Aam Aadmi Party's rebel duo Yogendra Yadav and Prashant Bhushan have strongly rejected and refuted charges levelled against them as they reply to the show cause notices issued to them by the party on the 17th of April. The notice was against organising the Swaraj Samvad, an event which the AAP termed anti-party. Here's more.
All the decisions taken after the National Council, after that illegal National Council meeting where 4 of us were purportedly removed, all those decisions are illegal. Moreover, these very persons, at least 2 of these persons, Pankaj Gupta and Ashish Khaitan, had levelled some of the same charges which are contained in this show cause notice against me.
Outright rejection from Prashant Bhushan, the man charged with initiating rebellion in the Aam Aadmi Party, show caused for staging the meeting of rebels. In his letter to Aam Aadmi Party's newly formed National Disciplinary Committee, Bhushan questions the constitution of the body when its own members are involved in a slew of irregularities. His letter says, and I quote, "You know that there have been serious charges against you yourself, which should have been referred to the National Lokpal Admiral Ramdas. These included the acceptance of donations of 2 crore rupees from shell companies without taking the approval of the PAC as required by the party's rules. He goes on to say, Ashish Khaitan has been accused of writing a planted story for Tehelka in defense of the SR company, which was charge-sheeted by the CBI in the 2G case for having created a Benami company, Loop Telecom. Like Bhushan, Yogendra Yadav too raised questions on the credibility of the newly formed disciplinary committee, terming the show cause notice a joke. In his letter, he says, and I quote, "What raises more suspicions about this new National Disciplinary Committee is the removal not only of Sri Prashant Bhushan but also of Sri K.K. Sivada, party's treasurer, and someone known to be a person of outstanding integrity, someone who did not take any sides in the ongoing dispute. All this smacks of backing the committee to ensure a desired outcome." The Aam Aadmi Party put up its own response. Spokesperson Ashutosh rubbished allegations made by the rebel duo against party members.
आशीष खेतान इस देश के चंद ऐसे पत्रकारों में से जिसने अपनी जान पर खेलकर पत्रकारिता की है और उसको किसी के सर्टिफिकेट की जरूरत नहीं है, चाहे वो प्रशांत भूषण हो चाहे योगेंद्र यादव हो। इन लोगों को अपने अंदर झांक कर देखना चाहिए।
The split down the middle in the ranks grows deeper. Reconciliation couldn't have been more distant. With Anu Devan, Bureau Inputs, Rajya Sabha TV.
With that, let's give you more news and updates from across the country and nationwide. The stock market tanked today by over 555 points, with the benchmark Sensex closing at a more than 3-week low of 27,886. Heavyweights RIL and Infosys fell sharply on growth concerns, even as weak global cues and fresh taxation worries added to the fall. This was the 4th consecutive session of downtrend. The Nifty 2 ended below the 8,500 mark by closing close to 158 points down to close at 8,448. In yet another ceasefire violation, Pakistani troops resorted to firing and mortar shelling across along the international border in Kathua district of Jammu and Kashmir on Sunday. The firing and shelling took place in Hiranagar sector last night. There was no loss of life or property reported. State-owned ONGC has called world-renowned oil and gas blowout control experts Boots and Coots from the US to contain a fire at a gas well near Surat. 12 people have been injured so far. ONGC's crisis management team has also stepped up efforts to drill a relief well at a nearby place for which the foundation work is already on. ONGC Chairman D.K. Saraf also visited the spot today. Protests and violence erupted at a hospital in Bihar Siwan district after the death of 3 school children and a teacher in an accident. At least a dozen students of a private school and coaching institute were in the van when it rammed into another vehicle early this morning. Senior officers rushed to the spot to bring the situation under control. International news now. In Pakistan and China today signed as many as 51 agreements and MOUs covering cooperation in energy and infrastructure development, and on day one of Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to the country. Notably, the proposed 46 billion Chinese investment is far larger than cumulative US aid to Pakistan. Here's a report.
Charting a new landmark in traditionally warm China-Pakistan ties, President Xi Jinping looks to take it to a new level. The 2-day trip has been dubbed a fate-changing visit intended to turn Pakistan into a crucial trade route for China. Strategic and economic cooperation between the two countries is set to see a new high with the signing of 51 agreements. China and Pakistan are due to sign agreements worth $46 billion during the visit. A key stress is on reviving Pakistan's ailing energy sector. The two countries are set to cooperate in gas, coal and solar energy to provide 16,400 megawatts of electricity, roughly equivalent to the country's entire current capacity. Another key focus is a China-Pakistan economic corridor that passes through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Beefed-up rail and road networks will allow Chinese goods to flow 2,000 miles from the country's northern mountains to the Arabian seaport of Gwadar. 8 MOUs were signed pertaining to Chinese investment in the country. Sharif and Xi also agreed to cooperate on strategic and terror-related issues, specifically movement of Islamic terrorists into the Uyghur region of western China from Pakistan. Notably, the aid offered by China is on a scale the United States has never offered Pakistan in the past decade of a close relationship. Experts predict a decline of US influence in the country. In India, security experts see construction of the China-Pakistan economic corridor through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir with concern.
A rail road passes through the occupied Kashmir, the Gilgit and Baltistan, then, that is a matter of concern. And the local people in Kashmir, they are opposing these pipelines. This is bringing a demographic shift in Kashmir region. It's a deliberate attempt to undermine the local population.
A large delegation of business leaders accompany President Xi on the Pakistan visit. Wide-ranging talks with the leadership and industry in Pakistan are to be held on Tuesday too. Xi will be awarded the Nishan-e-Pakistan, its highest honor, and address the Pakistan Parliament. All signs of a new level of engagement for India to keep a close eye on. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
In other news, 20-year-old Ankit Kesri, a budding cricketer, died in Kolkata following injuries from an on-field collision during a club match. Kesri sustained the injuries on Friday. The immediate reason for his death is a heart attack that he suffered while in hospital. He was a batsman and a leg spinner and came on as a substitute fielder for his team and collided with a teammate when both players went for a high catch. After the collision, he briefly lost consciousness but was resuscitated before being taken to the hospital. Ankit's death is a sad reminder of similar instances on field like Australia's Phil Hughes and former Indian Test cricketer Raman Lamba.
बीच में कैच उठा था, दोनों बॉलर और फील्डर दोनों गए साथ में कैच पकड़ने के लिए, तो फिर दोनों में धक्का लगा और दोनों बुरी तरह जख्मी होकर गिर गए. गिरने के बाद एक थोड़ा हिल रहा था, दूसरा अंकित उसमें कोई हिलने का कोई सिम्टम दिख ही नहीं रहा था. ऊपर से मुंह से खून निकल रहा था और गर्दन थोड़ा इधर-उधर टेढ़ा होकर पड़ा हुआ था, हाथ भी टेढ़ा हुआ था.
Moving ahead, let's get you some action from the world of sports now. In tennis, world number 1 Novak Djokovic clinched his second Monte Carlo title with a 3-set victory over Thomas Berdych. The Serb came through 7-5, 4-6, 6-3 to extend his winning run to 17 matches in 2015. With this, Djokovic became the first man to win the opening 3 Masters events of the season. Russia survived a fight back from Germany to win their Fed Cup semi-final 3-2. After trailing 2-0, Germany fought back with single victories from Angelique Kerber and Andrea Petkovic to level the score at 2-all. Petkovic beat Svetlana Kuznetsova 6-2, 6-1 before Kerber dispatched Anastasia 6-1, 6-love. Russia will now meet Czech Republic in the Fed Cup final in November. 8 people were killed at a football fan club in Brazil, Sao Paulo. Police said the supporters of the Corinthians club were preparing banners ahead of a match when gunmen burst in. The attackers ordered 7 fans to lie down before shooting them. The 8th man was hit as he tried to flee. Police claim the killing could be drug-related crime. Jamaican world record holder Usain Bolt cruised to victory in the mano a mano 100 meters sprint challenge in Rio de Janeiro on Sunday. Bolt pulled away from United States' Ryan Bailey over the last 30 meters to finish in 10.12 seconds. Brazilian Jose Carlos Moreira came third in 10.51 seconds. That's all we could pack it on the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night.